Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's tutorial, I will demonstrate how to cut and sew a side peplum blouse. I drafted the pattern for this in my previous tutorial. Hi, my name is Ayo and welcome to 011 Clothings Tutorials. On this channel, I upload DIYs, pattern drafting and sewing tutorials. If you haven't subscribed yet, kindly do so, and do not forget to turn on the notification bell so that you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. So now, let's get right into the tutorial. Thank you! I'll be working with the following items: pins, a pair of scissors, water erasable fabric pencil, tape measure, the pattern pieces which I drafted in a previous tutorial, African print fabric, some lining fabric. This is foam wadding. I will use this to pad the bust area, some interfacing. So these are all the pattern pieces needed to make the side peplum blouse. I drafted the pattern in a previous tutorial. Its link will be above and in the description box below. Also, the link on how to draft a basic sleeve pattern will also be above and in the description box below. I will now go ahead and cut these pattern pieces on my fabric. So now that has been done, as you can see, I've gone ahead to cut out all the pattern pieces on my fabric. These are the two front pieces. I used half an inch seam allowance all around the two pattern pieces, except for the side seam where I used 1.5 inches side seam allowance. This center front piece was cut on fold. This is the point where I will start sewing the center front piece on the side pieces. I have notched these points so as to avoid confusion while sewing. For the center front piece, I cut one piece on fold on the African print fabric and another piece on fold on the lining fabric. I have already interfaced the wrong side of the lining fabric and I've also padded the bust area. These are the two side front pieces. I cut two pieces on the African print fabric and two pieces on the lining fabric. I've already interfaced the wrong size of the two lining pieces and I've also padded the bust area. These are the points where the center front piece will start from on the side pieces. I've notched the points. I will now go ahead and pin the pieces in place like this. Once I'm done pinning, I will take it to my sewing machine and I will stitch in place using half an inch sewing allowance. I will do the same thing for the lining pieces as well. So now the stitching has been done, as you can see. I've also gone ahead to press open the seam allowances. I will go ahead and trim off the excess foam wadding around the seam area, like this. This is the back piece. I used half an inch seam allowance all through. I did not add any seam allowance to the center back because I already have 1 inch zip allowance at the center back. I used 1.5 inches at the side as the side seam allowance. I cut two pieces on the African print fabric and two pieces on the lining fabric. I interfaced the necklines of all the pieces. Using my pins, fabric pencil and also my scissors, I will go ahead and transfer the darts to the fabric pieces from the pattern. Using my scissors, I will notch the position of the lower part of the dart on the fabric like this. I will now go ahead and use my pens and my fabric pencil to transfer the dart to the main fabric on the wrong side and also to the lining pieces on the wrong side. So now that I'm done with transferring the darts from the pattern to the fabric, I will go ahead and stitch the darts in place on my sewing machine for all the 4 pieces. So now I have gone ahead to stitch the darts in place, as you can see. I will now go ahead and place the lining pieces on top of the main fabric pieces, right side to right side. I will pin in place. I'll pin the necklines in place first. Once I'm done pinning, I will take it to my sewing machine and I will stitch in place using 1/2 inch sewing allowance. I will also go ahead and place the front lining piece on top of the main fabric piece like this, right side to right side. I will pin the necklines in place. Once I'm done pinning, I will take it to my sewing machine and I will stitch it in place using 1/2 inch sewing allowance. So now the stitching has been done, as you can see. After stitching, I notch the seam allowances and then I understitch the seam allowance to the neckline of the lining piece. So I understitch the seam allowance to the neckline of the lining piece. These are the 2 back pieces. After sewing, I also notch the seam allowances and then I understitch the seam allowances to the neckline of the lining pieces. It is now time to join the front and the back shoulders together. So I'll place the 2 back pieces on top of the front piece like this, right side to right side. I will open up the shoulders like this and I will pin it in place, fabric to fabric and lining to lining, making sure that the shoulder seam lines match up. Once I'm done pinning, I will take it to my sewing machine and I will stitch it in place using 1/2 inch sewing allowance. So now the stitching has been done, as you can see. I have sewn the front and the back shoulders in place. I have gone ahead to fuse interfacing to the hem of all the pieces without any interfacing before. This will give the hem of the blouse a more defined look. So with the right sides together, I will go ahead and sew the hem of the front and the back pieces using 1/2 inch sewing allowance. Also, with the right sides together, I will go ahead and sew all the side seams using 1/2 inch sewing allowance. I will also sew the center back in place using 1/2 inch sewing allowance, right sides together. So now the stitching has been done. At the hem, I understitch the seam allowance to the hem of the front and the back lining pieces. I have also stitched the side seams, the 4 side seams. And also the center back. I will now go ahead and fix this long zip to the center back of the blouse using the remaining 1/2 inch sewing allowance. Remember that we used 1 inch for the zip allowance and we've already sewn 1/2 inch. So now I'll fix the zip. I've also joined the side seams together using the remaining 1 inch sewing allowance. Remember that we added 1.5 inches at the side seam allowance. This is the side peplum piece. I use half an inch seam allowance all around the pattern piece. I notched twice at this side to indicate that this is the back of this peplum. I will also notch this side once to show that this side will be fixed to the front of the blouse. I will also notch the center of the peplum at the upper part, like this. I cut 4 peplum pieces on the fabric and I've already interfaced the wrong sides of all the 4 peplum pieces. So with 2 peplum pieces together, right side to right side, I will go ahead and pin this crinoline to the lower edge of the peplum piece like this. After pinning, I will go ahead and stitch it in place on my sewing machine using half an inch sewing allowance. So now the stitching has been done, as you can see. After stitching, I went ahead to understitch the seam allowance to the hem of the peplum piece, that's part of the peplum piece that will be on the wrong side of the blouse. I will also go ahead and baste the peplum pieces together at the upper edge. So this is the main blouse. At the side where the peplum will be fixed, the main fabric and the lining fabric should also be basted together before fixing the peplum pieces. I will go ahead and pin the peplums to the sides, making sure that the front of the peplum is fixed to the front of the blouse and the back of the peplum is fixed to the back of the blouse. I will also make sure that the center of the peplum match up with the side seams of the blouse. Once I'm done pinning, I will take it to my sewing machine and I will stitch in place using half an inch sewing allowance. So now the stitching has been done. As you can see, I've fixed the 2 peplum pieces in place at the sides of the blouse. You can use a bias tape to neaten the raw edges, or you can simply overlock it. This is the sleeve. I use half an inch seam allowance at the upper part, 1 inch for the side seam and 1 inch at the hem of the sleeve. I cut 2 sleeve pieces. So what I will do is to hem the lower part of the sleeve. Then I will fold the sleeve into 2, right side to right side, and I will sew the side seams together using 1 inch sewing allowance. I will do the same thing for the other sleeve as well. So now the stitching has been done and I have given the sleeves a thorough press. I will now turn the blouse to the wrong side like this. I will now pin the sleeves to the armholes of the blouse, right side to right side. After pinning, I will take it to my sewing machine and I will stitch it in place using half an inch sewing allowance. So now the stitching has been done, as you can see, and this is the final look of the side peplum blouse. If you find this video helpful, do not forget to give it a thumbs up, drop a comment down below, share this video with your friends who are interested in sewing, and do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. See you in my next tutorial. Bye, and thank you so much for watching.